Hi, good afternoon. Mr. Brennan,
Present.
Mr. Rickman,
Here.
Mr. McDowell,
Yes.
Mr. Duval,
Present.
Mr. Vine,
Here.
Mr. Davis,
Here.
Mayor Benjamin.
I'm here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Reverend McDowell, would you give us a word?
Sure.
Thank you, brother.
Let us bow our heads. Gracious and eternal Creator, your loving kindness has allowed us to gather virtually in this place to discuss the business of this, our beloved city. First of all, Lord, we want to simply say the storm has passed over. And for those who are in the path of this tropical depression, we pray for their safety. We pray for their security in thee. Lord, we know that in the midst of these tumultuous times, we find ourselves at some point grimacing at the sheer fact of knowing that there is uncertainty out there. But Lord, we gather here today a part of your witness. We ask that you would entrench us with faith and with possibilities. Allow this city of ours to move progressively as it continues to be the tip of the sword. We ask it in your name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much, Reverend McDowell.
Amen.
Madam City Manager, any amendments to the agenda?
No, so the only addition is the item 35 for executive session edition of item of 2221 Divine Street, Mayor.
Thank you. With that amendment, is there a motion to adopt the agenda?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll move to the previous question. Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. Brennan,
Yes.
Mr. Rickman,
Aye.
Mr. McDowell,
Yes.
Mr. Duval,
Aye.
Mr. Vine,
Aye.
Mr. Davis,
Aye.
Mayor Benjamin.
Aye. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Madam Clerk, we have the emergency ordinance reauthorization before us.
Yes, sir.
Please.
Mayor. Ordinance number 2020-071, an emergency ordinance extending certain emergency ordinances related to COVID-19.
Thank you, Madam City Manager. Is there a motion?
Move approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Second. Thank Council for its continued work. Recognizing we still have a very serious and rapidly evolving health event before us. We've been leading from the front on face masks and other measures. There's still so much more work to do, and it's important that we reauthorize this ordinance. We'll move to the previous question. Clerk, call roll.
Mr. Brennan,
Yes.
Mr. Rickman,
Aye.
Mr. McDowell,
Yes.
Mr. Duval,
Aye.
Mr. Vine,
Aye.
Mr. Davis,
Aye.
Mayor Benjamin.
Aye. Thank you so much, Council.
Mayor Benjamin, following any updates you might have related to COVID-19, our Emergency Management Director, Harry Tinsley, has a very brief situational report for Council, as well as Assistant City Manager Henry Simons on some exciting programming coming out of Parks and Recreation.
Sure. No, the only updates I have obviously available to the public and to all of us, just as we continue to monitor media events. We are still dealing with some incredibly challenging times as we deal with the pandemic. We watched some incredibly challenging economic information after a 4.8% drop in GDP in the first quarter. We now saw the U.S. economy contract by nearly 33%. In the second quarter, the worst drop on record, according to the BEA last Thursday. We continue to obviously work, and we're going to get an update. I know from the chief of police today as we deal with social justice issues. There's so much going on, and I encourage everyone to continue to remain dialed in constant contact with your elected officials as you have. Teresa, thank you and your team as we continue to deal with the major fiscal challenges. I think, according nationally to cities, $360 billion in revenue loss will occur in cities all across this country over the next few years. So we got work to do. But the pandemic, while, I mean, obviously everything is relative, there's still work to do. It's amazing if we get 4 weeks to 8 weeks out of consistent mask wearing, like Mr. Duval is doing right now, what we can do to see a true deceleration in the number of cases. So we want to encourage everyone and anyone to do their part, take their role in this mutual responsibility to continue to push the numbers down. I think Ms. Devine, since she had her hand up, after she speaks, maybe we can go ahead and straight to the reports from Director Tinsley and Assistant City Manager Simons.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor and members of council. Just COVID related. I mean, I think we all know that this is kind of the perfect storm when you think about everything with we kids going to school, etc. But we know that this year is a census year, and now that the administration has decided to cut 30 days off of the census taking period, I think that we really need to have all hands on deck to support our complete count committee that we've appointed and try and put as much resources as possible to help this last push for this last month. So I would just ask that if, Mr. Mayor, if we can kind of maybe come up with a plan on how, you know, our resources can be put with the complete count committee to make sure that the last few days of the count that we get everybody in the city of Columbia counted. As we talk about economic impact, if we don't get our numbers right, that's going to be an economic impact for us at the city of Columbia for the next 10 years, and we can't afford any decreases. So we've got to get our people counted. So however we do that through public awareness and making sure that as the census takers get out there socially distanced, that they get the adequate enough support so that we can get every citizen in the city of Columbia counted.
I mean, absolutely. And I've been in touch with your super duper former intern, China Phillips, and as recently as this morning, asking her for some direction as to exactly what else she might need to make this last final push. She and the team have been doing a fantastic job with limited resources and just being frank, limited support from the federal government and more leadership on the local level than the state level. So I couldn't agree more, and we'll follow up in that regard.
I'm gonna show off my mask too.
Yeah, put it on, and maybe before we wrap this call up, it would be great to get a screenshot of all of us wearing masks. I think that'd be wonderful for the spirit of the community. So let's go ahead and be good stewards of our time. We'll get a rapid follow up with China and the team on the census, and let's go ahead and jump into Director Tinsley's report.
Hi, good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, Harry. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, members of council, Madam City Manager. Again, thank you for your time. I'll be brief. We wanted to give you a brief update on the COVID-19. Basically, quick 3 points, testing data, testing here in the city, and then our Columbia incident response brief. So the new numbers have already posted. You'll have some information in your inbox on that. DHEC just posted the new numbers. So it's testing data as of current post. There's over 795,000 total tests conducted. Over 670 of those are negative tests. The current positive is a little over 122,000 to date. So the total case count that we have as confirmed cases here in the state stands at 93,604. That's 93,604. Unfortunately, we have moved into 1,774 confirmed deaths due to COVID here in our state. The numbers over an 8-day period show that there are 52 additional going back to 7/24. It's July 24th to April 3rd. As far as here in Richland County, our case count as of today stands at 8,005 total positive cases. And again, unfortunately, we stand now at 141 confirmed deaths due to COVID. As far as testing here in the city, staff continues to work to increase testing sites in and around our area. We are partnering, just as an FYI to council, we are partnering with DHEC and Prisma Health for a static drive-through test that'll start this Saturday, August 8th, and it'll run through August 29th. Currently, that'll be on our street property, and all that information will be is currently on DHEC website and our city website, resilientcolumbia.sc.gov, resilient.columbia.sc.gov, and our normal city site as well. Those testing days will run Tuesday, Wednesday, Saturdays from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. each day. Again, there's no cost for the testing, no appointment needed, no referral needed. And all that information, as I said, is on the website. And just so for your briefing, we're now posting our Columbia Incident Response Brief, which is the document that we've used consistently to brief out. That is actually will be posted weekly now. It's on our city website, and you can also access it. The public can access it through resilient.columbiasc.gov. I wanted to be brief and give you all the information. There's some more information in your inbox. You have time to take a look at that. Thank you, and that concludes my brief.
And thank you for making that much more easily accessible and public available as we requested, Chief Tinsley. Thank you for that update. I think we're going to go straight into Henry. ACM Simons, how are you, brother?
Good, sir. How are you?
Doing great.
Can you all hear me?
We sure can.
Okay. Thank you so much, and thank you, Ms. Wilson. Again, thank you, Mayor Benjamin and our City Council for providing us an opportunity to briefly discuss this initiative. In an effort to support our youth as well as our families within the community as they return to school, we would like to provide free meals, which is inclusive of breakfast and lunch, to youth 18 years of age and under. There will be 10 meal distribution sites where families will be able to drive up and pick up their meals. This will be held Monday through Friday, starting on Monday, August 10th through Friday, August 28th. That's going to be done daily between the hours of 12:30 and 1:30. We're partnering with the Francis Burns United Methodist Church, who is authorized, of course, through the USDA, who will provide a well-balanced, nutritious meal. Within the 10 distribution sites, all districts will be covered. It's inclusive of Hyde Park, Greenview, Pinehurst Park, Lorick Park, MLK, the Belfield Center, South Edisto Park, Woodland Park, Hampton Park, and also Heathwood Park. I am working with public relations on finalizing the press release that will be published tomorrow, providing the above details. This process will in particular mirror the mass distribution process that occurred several weeks ago. So we are very excited about this opportunity, and really that's all I have. And I'll yield it back to you and Ms. Wilson for a discussion.
Sure, that is fantastic news, and obviously it shows the intersectionality of all the different issues that communities are dealing with right now. So many families in tough times, and so thank you for the leadership there. Henry and Teresa, when you work with Alicia and putting this out, would you also give it maybe share with all of us in social media size bite sizes that makes it even easier for us to push it out to our various networks as well. So that'd be very helpful. But thank you for looking out for the incredible needs of a food insecure community. So thank you.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. And Henry didn't mention, but they are also pushing out lots of programming virtually, Mayor Benjamin and Council. Great programming, from exercise to crafts, all kinds of things, being that if our facilities aren't open, they are still working hard to provide programming for our residents and children, all citizens, seniors, everyone.
But keep up the great work. It's important, it's necessary, even more so now than ever. So
thank you.
All right, good deal. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Moving forward with our next discussion item, it is utility relocation projects and procurement. Ms. Dana Higgins, our Director of Engineering, will take the lead. Mayor Benjamin and several other staff members also available, as well as some comments that I will probably give. Dana?
Sure.
Thank you, Ms. Wilson. Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Thank you so much for letting Columbia Water come and talk to you about utility relocation procurement. Let's see, let me get this. Just to give you some background, back in May of last year, legislation was passed. We refer to it as Act 36, but it was basically giving a lot of these DOT, Lexington County, Richland County road widening projects the opportunity to help the utilities pay for the relocation of their water and sewer as part of the project versus putting the entire burden on the municipality or utility. So just to give you a background, the Carolina Crossroads project is $1.6 billion. Because of this legislation, 4.5% of the total project cost will go towards utility relocation to the tune of about $72 million. We were going to have about a $40 million impact to our CIP if it was not for this legislation. The reason we're coming to you today is to talk about the timeliness and the deadlines that will be imposed by this Act 36. We're starting to roll into our first projects that are covered by Act 36. It is a reimbursement process, but there are very strict deadlines. We are required to have all of our documentation 180 days prior to DOT's letting schedule. Just to give you an example of an upcoming project y'all are probably aware of, the Elmwood Bridge Replacement Project. The STIP, which is the State Transportation Improvement Program, has an estimate of $34 million for the project cost. That will allow us to realize around $1.3 million in reimbursement. So we have been talking to DOT about this project. The biggest thing for Columbia Water is getting consultants on board quickly and being nimble enough to get them to come to our meetings within a 2-week turnaround period. DOT has been working on these projects and they have them on, so to speak, a shelf they pull down, and we have about a 2-week period of time before we can grab a consultant and attend the meetings. So we've been trying to brainstorm on the best way to have a consultant come on board, but also allow the project contracts to come before the public and council for approval. And as we've been discussing this, we have identified a potential opportunity, which is a little different from procurement in the past, that we'll be bringing before you in a couple of weeks on our next council meeting. We issued an RFQ at the beginning of this year. We had one back in 2017, and I know y'all are aware of the projects that we've put before you in the last 3 years, and that contract has expired this year. So we had selected 7 consultants, 3 top tier and 4 in second tier, and we had been looking at coming before you for a 3-year approval of those consultants with the funding that was identified and approved last year, plus the $6 million we have in our CIP for water and sewer relocation this year. And we want to bring this to your attention because we understand that there is a need to bring these larger contracts before you and consultant approval, but we do need to get these consultants to come to these meetings with us and help us develop scopes, pull existing locations, help us identify cost estimates and funding, looking at prior rights. So what we'd like to propose is coming up with almost like an indefinite delivery contract for these top 3 consultants for an amount maybe up to $750. That's the state requirement according to our procurement director, so that we can get with Ms. Wilson, have her approve us bringing them on board to go to these meetings with us, get the contract scopes identified, help us with those prior rights, develop the scope and fee, and then bring that back to council for approval for fee and contract after we've been working. We assume that we are going to be looking at potentially $50,000 to $150,000 potentially as we go through that process. It typically takes 2 to 3 months to get those nailed down, as well as bring before council and get approval. So it was a desire to bring this before you so that y'all could ask questions, and when it comes back to council in a couple of weeks, you'll be more informed, and we can have basically question and answer period. So I guess I'll open it up to questions. Anyone have any Any concerns or questions?
Any questions for Dana?
I got a quick question, Dana. This is Will Brennan. Are the
Yes, sir.
have the bids come in, and because of the tight turnaround, are they where you think they are? Are they ending up to being in the range?
So the construction bids or the consultant fees?
Well, how about both?
Okay, so most of the, and we have, y'all, in the last council meeting, we've had the memorandum of agreement with DOT for the in-contract work. We've got a couple on this agenda as well. So most of our agreements are based on the preliminary large budget that DOT identifies in their STIP as just a general number. And how we've been identifying what the actual number is, we insert the actual bid construction number after the letting has been done. So we've got estimates of what the construction costs are, but we won't know that until it's actually let. And as far as Act 36, the requirement is for us to get on board quickly, go to these consultant meetings within about a 2-week time frame, develop our consultants that we need to get on board quickly are in charge of helping us with the cost estimates, the prior rights, the Act 36 4.5%. The reimbursement is outside of a prior right. So if we are in an easement and DOT is expanding their right of way, then they are not going to charge for us to move out of our private easement. They will potentially acquire that right of way, and that does not include the 4.5%. So that's a really great thing, but we have to definitely get these consultants to help us identify these as we develop scopes. Originally, we were trying to brainstorm on maybe getting the full contract and fee approved by y'all as like a lump sum, and have Ms. Wilson just kind of approve them as they come along. But I know that she was probably more comfortable with more of an IDC approach, where it's a smaller fee just to help us be more nimble in getting those consultants on board. And then they can be compensated as we get the approval through normal public and council approval, which, like I said, takes 2 months. We just don't have that timing and can't meet the deadlines of Act 36 if we're going to get the consultant on board after 3 months.
So Dana and council, why this is important a little bit, I've been using the word unorthodox, to be quite frank with you, with the staff, is because typically, we will go through the process to Mr. Brennan's point about letting the projects and the bids come in and all that. And I know Dana's been probably careful about the dollar amounts we're talking about here, but they're high. And that is why, for me, I am perfectly capable, and I take every precaution and ask lots of questions, and I think it'll be fine. But approving contracts of a certain magnitude, in other words, you all would almost be authorizing me to do that, gave me a bit of pause. My preference is for the contracts to come back to you for your approval. Due to the urgency and working with DOT and the way that Dana has described, the staff has tried to come up with a different approach. It sounds like, Dana, I pushed them to still talk about this up until last Friday and today even, but you're saying now that the scope of work would be a much lesser amount that I would be approving to move forward to get y'all to that point, and then the bigger contract would come to council for the work.
Yes, ma'am, that's correct. We heard your concern, so I was up here with Missy and we talked to TK a little bit more about it, and we felt like that was going to be a nice approach that would potentially give you a little bit more comfort, as well as allowing us to be more nimble in getting these consultants to assist us quickly, maybe in more of an IDC format where we can pull them in, look at they would be required to give us their project team and their availability, of course, and that would be presented to you, and we'd have you initially kind of sign off on it, but then we would move forward with that consultant to help us through that preliminary, almost like a preliminary engineering phase, to help us kind of develop what we're looking at, what our liability and on the cost would be, the cost of doing the relocation. And like I said, a lot of this will be covered. There's some that won't be, but we definitely don't want to forfeit any funding whatsoever that's available to us because we didn't meet timeliness. And they've also actually said if we create delays, we could have to pay for those as well. So that definitely makes us want to act quickly and be able to get these consultants on board. But we also understand that, yes.
Dana, and through that initial process and before it would come back to council, the small minority women business goals, percentages that we always are striving for, and we'll be having a conversation with a council committee about next week as well. Those percentages will be set in stone in the contract that will ultimately come back for council's approval as well.
Yes, ma'am. We actually talked to DOT that we wanted to use the Mentor Project program, a minimum of 20% participation before it went out for the RFQ, and they were in agreement that that was going to be acceptable.
Okay. And TK, you're comfortable with this approach?
Yeah.
Ms. Wilson, I would just want to stress that we make sure that the consultant that we choose has the work capacity to run with us fast, because it sounds like it's a quick turnaround. I don't want that to be a cause for delay and loss of funding.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
And
One of our requirements.
Yeah, and what was and Teresa Knox, what was your response?
It was yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right. Good deal. Right.
And so
Thank
Dana,
you.
for clarity for council on the next council agenda on the 18th, what will the item be that they will be approving?
So we have top three consultants that were selected in the RFQ process for this year. We'll be bringing those before council for an approval of up to IDC of 750, where we would be allowed to procure through that vehicle of the RFQ, these consultants to get on board quickly. And then they would help us develop scope based on those meetings, and that contract and funding would come back before council at a later date. So that would just be allowing us to go ahead and get them on board quickly. So there would be 750 for each of the three, up to 750.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor, I think Mr. Rickman has a question.
Okay, go ahead, Daniel, please. You're on mute, brother. You're on mute.
Dana, have you and Clint had an opportunity to figure out with McClam about the silt removal at Lake Catherine?
Yes, sir. Right now it's at legal review, the Lake Catherine addendum to the last project agreement. Okay. So we're just having them review it before we present it back to the HOA.
Okay, and you'll be able to brief us at some point on where we stand?
Absolutely. You're aware of the letter that Mr. Shealy emailed Mr. Brantley with our response?
If you could send me a copy, that'd be awesome.
Absolutely. I'll get that to you today.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Dana, thank you. And thank y'all for working through this and, enduring my questions.
Absolutely.
Right. Thank y'all so much. All right.
Okay. Moving into the consent agenda items, Mr. Mayor, we are asking for council's approval of items 4 through 23.
Is there a motion?
Move
and seconded. All right, moved and seconded in discussion. We'll move the previous question. The clerk call the roll.
Mr. Brennan?
Yes.
Mr. Rickman?
Aye.
Mr. McDowell?
Yes.
Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Mr. Vine?
Aye.
Mr. Davis?
You're on mute, Sam.
Sorry, aye.
Mayor Benjamin?
Aye, aye. And so Teresa, I'm gonna take a break for items 24 through is it 27? Is it all four of these or just the first two? So I get a sense.
Yes, sir. Items 24 through 27, please.
Okay. All right. Thank you, ma'am. Mr. McDowell, you do your thing. Just as a matter of course, for those paying attention, I don't vote on issues that relate to my neighborhood. So I'm gonna recuse myself on this. And Mr. Pro Tem, I'll be back in a moment. I will be monitoring you, however, so you behave, okay?
Thank you very much. Item number 24. Madam City Manager.
Yes, sir. First reading approval was given on July 21st. Councilman, I don't know, questions.
Move approval of item 24.
All right. Move approval. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded.
Mr. Brennan?
Yeah, yes.
Call the roll.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Rickman?
Is there any public to this? Just out of curiosity, it's a second reading on the zoning.
No, sir. The public hearing was closed at the last meeting.
Okay, just want to make sure. Aye.
Mr. McDowell?
Yes.
Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Mr. Vine?
Aye.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
Thank you.
Item number 25. The City Manager.
Yes, sir. Mr. McDowell, this is another item where first reading approval was given already on July 21st.
All right.
So move.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. Brennan?
Yes.
Mr. Rickman?
Aye.
Mr. McDowell?
Yes.
Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Mr. Vine?
Aye.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
Item number 26. Item number 26. Madam City Manager.
Yes, sir. Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, another item requiring a second reading, first reading approval being given on July 21st. This is at County Line Trail, 18.02 acres.
I move approval of item 26.
Item number, is that been moved and seconded? Ms. Hammond, would you call the roll, please?
Yes, sir. Mr. Brennan?
Yes.
Mr. Rickman?
Aye.
Mr. McDowell?
Yes.
Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Mr. Vine?
Aye.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
Thank you.
All right. Item number 27.
Item 27 for second reading, first reading approval being given on July 21st. This is 20.74 acres at County Line Trail.
All right. What's the disposition of council?
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Ms. Hammond, would you please call the roll, please?
Yes, sir. Mr. Brennan?
Yes.
Mr. Rickman?
Aye.
Mr. McDowell?
Yes.
Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Mr. Vine?
Aye.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 28.
Yes, sir. Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, this item was deferred for first reading. The public hearing was held on July 21st. And again, this is a request to rezone the parcel from single family residential to office and institutional district at 209 North Beltline Boulevard.
How you gonna run the move? You gonna second it too, eh? What you gonna do now? You gonna pull a Duval and second your own motion?
Oh, I didn't hear. All right, you got the
tracks.
You wanted an efficient
I want the
meeting.
record to reflect that I've already taken 3 laps up and down the State House steps and come back. So
Yeah, right.
Well, Call you Speedy then.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. Ed moved. I second that motion. With the previous question, call the roll.
Mr. Brennan,
Yes.
Mr. Rickerman,
Aye.
Mr. McDowell,
Yes.
Mr. Duval,
Aye.
Mr. Vine,
Aye.
Mr. Davis,
Aye.
Mayor Benjamin.
Aye, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our first reading for ordinance number 2020-070, granting an encroachment to Ray Borders Gray for the use of the right-of-way area of the 1400 block of Oak Street and 2300 block of Washington Street for the installation and maintenance of a concrete walkway adjacent to 1404 Oak Street.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any
Mr.
discussion? Yes, sir, Mr. McDowell.
Madam City Manager, can we, in approving this, can we add as a caveat the conversation we've had about clarifying the issues of encroachment, particularly, say, in historical districts?
Certainly, Councilman, I will work with the staff so that we can, put out that process broadly and, how that preferably that process should be followed before or prior to our citizens moving forward with the work that they're asking to be done. And we will definitely act accordingly to get that to your constituents and all constituents of the city.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you. I think it's moved and seconded. Is that correct? We got a second on the motion?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's move the previous question. Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. Brennan,
Yes.
Mr. Rickerman,
Aye.
Mr. McDowell,
Yeah.
Mr. Duval,
Aye.
Mr. Vine,
Aye.
Mr. Davis,
Aye.
Mayor Benjamin.
Aye.
Moving into a period of resolutions, item 30, resolution number R 2020-049, urging the United States Congress to extend the emergency rental assistance program for citizens impacted by COVID-19 and requesting the Richland County and Lexington County Magistrate Courts to stay all evictions of tenants within the corporate limits of the City of Columbia financially impacted by the emergency situation caused by SARS-CoV-2, the coronavirus.
Move approval.
Second.
Discussion. Obviously, this is an updated resolution that we considered several months ago before the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court acted. It remains obviously an even greater challenge for so many families right here. So we wanted to make sure that our position was clear to our county magistrates who handle these issues. Families are fighting right now. We want to make sure that they know that we have their backs. So with the previous question, clerk, call the roll.
Mr. Brennan,
Yes.
Mr. Rickerman,
Aye.
Mr. McDowell,
Yes.
Mr. Duval,
Aye.
Mr. Vine,
Aye.
Mr. Davis,
Aye.
Mayor Benjamin.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you all. Item 31 is resolution number R 2020-076, certifying building site as an abandoned building pursuant to the South Carolina Abandoned Buildings Revitalization Act, Title 12, Chapter 67, Section 1267-100 of the South Carolina Code of Laws as amended regarding property located at 2901 Rose.
Move approval.
Second.
Move and second in discussion. We'll move the previous question. Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. Brennan,
Yes.
Mr. Rickerman, Mr. McDowell,
Yes.
Mr. Duval,
Aye.
Mr. Vine,
Aye.
Mr. Davis,
Aye.
Mayor Benjamin.
Aye. Thank you.
Item 32, resolution number R 2020-077, certifying building site as an abandoned building pursuant to the South Carolina Abandoned Buildings Revitalization Act, Title 12, Chapter 67, Section 1267-100 of the South Carolina Code of Laws as amended, regarding property located at 301 Assembly Street.
Is there a motion?
Move approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, any discussion? Seeing none, we'll do the previous question. Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. Brennan,
Yes.
Mr. Rickman,
Aye.
Mr. McDowell,
Yes.
Mr. Duval,
Aye.
Mr. Vine,
Aye.
Mr. Davis,
Aye.
Mayor Benjamin.
Aye, thank you.
Thank you.
This time, Mayor Benjamin, Ms. Jenkins is online to assist if you all need any questions answered regarding the appointments for Design Development Review Commission.
All right. So where do we leave that? We have, I did see, I want to thank Ms. Jenkins for her new chart, which makes things a lot easier to digest and understand. We have one or two appointments there.
It looks like on her latest thing is three appointments.
One realtor and two community representatives.
It is, yes, sir. It's one realtor, but I don't think we've had someone that fits that realtor mortgage broker.
What about I thought I had received notice that Andrew Salibi applied for that position.
Andrew reached out to me, and then
Was Andrew a lawyer or a
I
realtor?
think he was a lawyer. Yeah.
Andrew's a lawyer.
Andrew reached out to me. If he did send it, they must have sent it today. I can check my email and I can forward it. Yeah, I can forward it.
At large, I had there was a District 4 member, Taylor Wolf, who applied for Planning Commission, and then, I guess the problem here is that we need at least two members, or at least somebody from District 4, because we have nobody on the committee.
Yes, sir. We only have one person from District 2, and then
District
no
2
one
as
from
well.
District 4.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So we need two from each of those, or at least
one.
Yeah. Well, District.
Well, hold on. Let me.
Has.
Do you have an affirmative appointment that you want to make, Daniel, and you, Ed, right now?
I would move to put Taylor Wolf instead of on the Planning Commission on the DDRC.
As your community representative, okay. And Ed, you have anyone right now?
I've talked to someone and they're not committed right now. I'd like to defer that.
Okay, so let's
would you just
actively
meeting?
I'm sorry.
Steve?
I'm sorry, say it, Daniel.
I said, did you wait till the next meeting and do it all in one sweep?
No, let's go ahead and get one. I think let's go ahead. I don't like. We need a fully constituted DDRC sooner rather than later. So if we can go ahead and get Taylor moving forward, I'm fine with that. Let's hold at least the other community representative slot for
you want to put
2.
Taylor as a realtor?
Is he a realtor?
Yeah, he's a realtor.
Okay, that's perfect. Okay, well, that's perfect. Okay, so let's put Taylor as a realtor, and we need at least one of those two community representative slots coming from District 2. And and so we'll Mr. McDowell, we need your suggestion, and then obviously from everyone on council, if you got some more suggestions, except for you, Will. No more from
I know.
Okay.
I'd like to recommend Andrew Salibi for that position for the community representative. So that'd be 2 for District 4, and then that would just leave Ed to get 1, and that'd give 2 all the way.
I think that's a wonderful.
And Councilman, I looked back in my emails. Andrew and I talked last week, and he sent a last email on Friday, but he hasn't sent the application yet. So what I'll do is I'll reach out to him today and just ask him to forward.
Andrew's he's a great selection.
Thank you.
Support Mr. Wolf and Mr. Salibi, Mr. Wolf in the realtor slot, Mr. Salibi in the community representative slot, and we'll next meeting we'll have a District 2 rep. From Mr. McDowell for appointment. Mr. Rickman moves our second. Move the previous question, clerk call roll.
Mr. Brennan,
Yes.
Mr. Rickaman,
Aye.
Mr. McDowell,
Yes.
Mr. Duval,
Aye.
Partners, one moment, please.
Who's that?
The whole music.
Who's that? Sounds good, but
That's it.
That's-
That's
that's-
how the floor
One
fell.
moment, please. Okay, thank you. Mr. Duval,
Howard, you
Howard.
muted.
Howard, you're on mute, Howard.
Howard, unmute it.
I'm looking.
we're on a roll.
Aye.
Ms. Devine,
Aye.
Mr. Davis,
aye.
Mayor Benjamin,
Aye. Aye.
thank you.
All right. Any and Ed, we'll get that last name. We'll have a fully constituted commission. That'd be great.
Great.
We got two good additions today. Any reports or referrals from committee?
I've got one, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, you talked about, the work's not done, getting our little local economy revved up coming out of this pandemic and the slowdown in the economy. To put things in place, I'd like to make a motion for your referral to whatever committee. I'd like to make a motion for a summary of the city's development services processes for council and the public's information, and for review of any efficiencies possible and enhancement of best practices. So essentially just taking a look at what we're doing in development services and how we can better help the developers, the people that want to invest in Columbia, do that in an efficient way.
Sure. Would that naturally go to economic and community development, or would that go to administrative policy? Probably economic and community development. Let's
Economic development seems.
All right.
Economic
All right.
development.
All right, Mr. Brennan moves. I second. Any discussion? With the previous question, clerk call a roll.
Mr. Brennan,
Yes.
Mr. Rickaman,
Aye.
Mr. McDowell,
Yes.
Mr. Duval,
Aye.
Mr. Vine,
Aye.
Mr. Davis, Mr. Davis,
He said aye. He said aye.
okay,
Aye.
Mayor Benjamin,
Uh-huh.
Aye. Thank you. Thank
thank
you, ma'am.
you.
Any other
Thank you,
reports or
everybody.
referrals?
No, none. Has the public been noticed on the meeting next week? Economic Development Committee?
There probably hasn't been a public notice just yet.
Okay, I know she's been trying to finalize it today, and
August 11th at 2
Yeah.
o'clock.
we've coordinated everybody's schedule.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate that.
All right.
But a public notice will go out, yes,
Right.
sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
And that's it. We're going to continue. Obviously, we all engage with city manager and staff on a regular basis. Going to continue to monitor all the situations around public facilities and park reopenings, following the data. I might at some point task some of you have been having several conversations with President Kaslan at USC. Obviously, he has serious and articulated concerns about just making sure the students are part of the solution, not a part of the problem. When they all return back to campus and want to have some deeper dive discussions in that. Obviously, those are policy-making decisions that we'll all have to consider, including ideas like a curfew again, which I know there's not unanimous support on the council about. And I do want us to continue to monitor the data. You take nothing for granted, but obviously seeing some slight reductions in the number of cases is a good thing. Seeing some slight reductions in the incidence of infection, getting beneath 20%, if you call that, we'll take every victory we can get. But I think we saw 18% maybe in the numbers that Director Tinsley laid out earlier. want to continue to just to monitor our progress and continue looking at utilizing some of the tools, including the mass and the civil infractions associated with that. We just need to continue to be diligent in driving the numbers in the way in which we need them to go, so we provide for a healthy community. Also, I believe we're going to call for another meeting, Teresa, of our Economic Recovery Task Force, just looking at some of the reports we've all seen lately, looking at some daunting information around the number of restaurants nationally that will not be reopening or will be closed by the end of the year. We've seen numbers maybe as high as a third of them across the country. And just really just want to make sure we're constantly ideating and innovating and iterating to try and make sure that we create opportunities for more of them to be successful. So I'm going to pull the task force back together to talk through some of those ideas. And obviously, some of you with very specific experience like you, Mr. Rickenman, that I really need to lean on you to just make sure we're doing all we can to make these businesses successful. So thank y'all for all you do and all you've done. Madam Clerk, do we have anybody on the line?
Okay, so we've had up to 5 people call in and listening. They left a line, but 2 individuals have left voicemails. One is Catherine Davis, and the other is Catherine Bruce. If you don't mind, I'd like to play those into the record.
Let's hear. Absolutely. Let's play both those into the record, and then we'll entertain executive session. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, this is Catherine Davis, citizen of Columbia. I want to thank all of City Council for their time and attention in meeting with Richland County Black Collective yesterday about our police reform proposals. And we are enthusiastic and looking forward to meeting collectively with all of you City Council members, Mayor Benjamin, and our city manager. We're hoping to schedule this as soon as possible. Thanks so much, and we really appreciate your interest and attention. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Madam Clerk.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. This is Catherine Bruce, 2214 and 2226 Hampton. Thanks for all that you're doing to help us through COVID. I did want to remind you of the issue of the status of residential permit parking at 2214 Hampton. Briefly summarizing, the protocol for residential parking was followed, community meetings, parking study, and the signage. The signage and paid permits, which I paid for, issued by the city, and I had those for 2 years before they were abruptly removed last year. When I asked for an explanation, the police were sent out. And conditions here are the same on this block of Hampton, with the university and institutions and church, the same as on Green Street in University Hill. So without these signs, I have not been able to follow directives of code enforcement, having the trash picked up, have things cleaned up, have be able to put yard debris on the street because of the 24 round the clock presence of cars and other issues that I documented in a letter that I sent you in March. Things have been quiet now, of course, because of COVID, but with Allen University discussing bringing students back in August, I did want to appeal to council to replace and return the residential parking only 24-hour sign at 2214 Hampton prior to the students' return. If we still have hoops to jump through before we get there, I do have cones and barricades there, which I did send you notices about, and that Allen University and the institutions on that street have been notified about that, and they've been very good about making sure that they leave those in place. So just want to have the opportunity to bring that to your attention, and hopefully we can act on that very soon. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
And those are your the messages that have been left, Mayor Benjamin.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're
Is there a motion? Is there a motion to go into executive session?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion. We go into executive session for the receipt of legal advice related to matters covered by attorney-client privilege pursuant to 30-4-70A2, COVID-19, Everytown, CPD, after action review, CPD policy review, discussion of negotiations incident proposed contractual arrangement pursuant to 30-4-70A2, JETA.
Second.
Any discussion?
And 2221 Divine Street. I'm sorry, Mayor Benjamin.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Made that amendment earlier. With the previous question, clerk call the roll.
Mr. Brennan,
Yes.
Mr. Rickerman, Mr. McDowell,
Yes.
Mr. Duval,
Aye.
Mr. Vine,
Aye.
Mr. Davis,
Aye.
Mayor Benjamin.
Aye. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Never.